Well, to Kim for, again, being first and for being willing to share your story. I know you're a daughter of the congregation, and I thought, how do I introduce her? But I thought that's probably part of her role, right? Introduce yourself, and thank you. And questions at the end?
Yes,
lots of that. So.
Or in the middle, or whenever.
Oh, great. Awesome. Thank you, Kim.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for, I guess, having me here. It seems really weird that I'm standing in front of the church and there are people, people I've grown up with my whole life, people that have just started, people that have come and are new, and my mom, and my husband, but I actually yesterday had to ask my mom about my life, kind of make sure I kind of started it off with where I started and how we came here, because I was a baby and didn't know anything, so, and I guess we'd never really talked about it because I was only 10 months old when we joined Cross Lutheran.
Wow.
So, for me it wasn't something I remember or had any part of, but maybe because I was a baby and you're looking for a good church to go to raise kids in. So, I asked her and she said, well, I was actually 10 months old when they moved in Maplewood, here behind the Maplewood Bowl, if anybody remembers the Maplewood Bowl on Froston English. They bought their starter home that they lived in for 50-some years, and they, raised 3 kids. I was the first, and I was 10 months old. I was baptized in, I understand, Trinity Lutheran off Rice Street. They lived in an apartment off Rose over there when they got married, and that's where I was born and where I went to church with them, or at least Mom. Dad worked on the weekends, so Mom was able, she said, to ride the bus and go to church, which is hilarious to me that you ride a bus to go to church, but that's the way it was back then, and it was no big deal. So, she'd ride the bus and we'd go to church, and it was Wisconsin Synod, which, having grandparents, one was Wisconsin Synod, one was Missouri Synod, and we were ELCA, although we were Missouri before we became ELCA. I still remember that. It was, one grandma, Wisconsin's the best, and Missouri's the best, and, we're going, no, ELCA is okay. That's the time. So, we came here, and my mom was telling me, which is one of the reasons I asked, is Bridget Deeg, Ed and Bridget Deeg, lived across the street from us. And my mom had met them, and they had started talking, and Bridget was the one that gave her a bunch of information in the neighborhood, where we would go to school, Weaver Elementary, junior high, John Glenn, and then high school would be North St. Paul, and about the church, this church. Now, not that it was easy, because it was really close. I mean, if we had to, we could walk. It was no big deal. But it was ironic when you talk about your calling or where you were, and your friends and different things. Very, very, very strange that none of our neighborhood friends went to this church. None of them. They all went, I shouldn't say most, lots of Catholics, so they went to presentation. And of course, they got to go to church on Saturday night and sleep on Sunday, which is my favorite thing to do, by the way, is to sleep. So, they went to church, and we had to get up, and we couldn't stay up and watch Saturday Night Live or anything like they got to, and it was just, it was so awful. So, and then some of the other friends that went to Lutheran churches went over to Our Redeemer, over off Larpenter. And so, honestly, we didn't have neighborhood friends that went to this church. Now, I had high school friends, junior high friends and high school friends, and ironically, Randy Lindstrom would be one of them that came, that was here, and I look back, Maria Jackson, or Maria Sefferly, is still here, but almost everybody is gone. None of them go to church here anymore. Actually, I just saw Ann Bobick, or Ann Ross, and her husband are no longer members. So that, except for Maria, that leaves it at nobody. And I look back, that was really hard to come to a church where your friends weren't at, because every schedule was a little different, everything you did was a little different, and of course when you're growing up as a teenager and you think you're cool, you sure don't want to be going to church, and you don't want to be hanging out at church. That was just us as kids.
Kim,
yeah.
how many were in your confirmation class?
I think there were 9,
Okay.
if I remember correctly.
About that, yeah.
About that, somewhere around there,
Okay.
yeah. Actually, looking back at the picture, there's a
2
few.
boys, Randy and Richardson.
Yep, George Richardson, was in it, and the rest were all girls.
Okay.
Yep, and, it was a tough time for Cross at that time. We still had Pastor Timmerman, but, and I honestly, even at 50-some years old, I can't tell you what exactly was going on. I guess I never asked. It wasn't our job or to know. But at that point in time, he was not a good minister for children. It was not. Our confirmation class was take a tape, come into my office, sit down with me and talk to me about it and tell me what you learned.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how we did it. And what you did was whoever had to be the sucker, the first one to go in, literally told you, came back and said, this is what he's going to ask you. This is what he's going to. So we did. That's how we got confirmed. We did everything we could to cheat. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was, well, come on, it wasn't. It was just, how do you get through? But we would walk from John Glenn, because we had, it was Wednesday night with confirmation, and we'd come from John Glenn, and we'd walk up here and go to confirmation class. So most of the time, we just sat in there and BS is what we did. So it was fine, it was good, but it wasn't, because I think there were so many things. Had we had like Pastor Bob or somebody, boy, I think that would have been a challenge, but it would have been a good one. This is really a bad thing to say, but kind of a little bit of a fear of authority. We didn't have that with Timmerman. We did not. Nobody
didn't have as much respect.
No, there was no connection that I remember with the minister and us. Nothing. Anything I heard was at if we had to sit, if we were old enough to sit for a congregational meeting, which was 18 years old. But actually, I think he was already gone by the time I was. No, he wasn't. I take that back. He was not gone. Because, I know that, just because it clicked with me. But my parents, there'd be conversation you'd hear. And it was good, bless their hearts. They weren't, they were, typically what we heard were not for our ears, but we overheard it or something. But there was a lot of turmoil in the congregation. It split. Boy, it was a different time. It was a bad time. 70s, 80s. It was rough. It was rough. But, people ask me, why did you stay here or whatever? Well, in all honesty, one of the reasons that I stayed here was because when I moved out and I was engaged at a right young age of 19, and my ex-husband and I bought a house 3 blocks away from my parents. And we had a baby, and we decided, we're going to take her to church and have a little encouragement from Mom and Dad, let's go to church. And we did, and it worked out really, really well. Like I said, we just lived 3 blocks the other way from Mom and Dad, and both our children were baptized here, Jake and Amanda. And actually, my grandchildren were baptized here. Not that they go to church here, but they were baptized. Pastor Bob was a huge influence on my children. And it made it very easy, and I will tell you to this day, Pastor Bob has said to me and my daughter that she gave him the biggest challenge that he had. And it was in a good way, though, because she asked questions. I don't want to say she didn't believe, she was more like, prove it to me. Make me believe that that's really what this is all about, or I don't quite get it. And I found out more information sitting with her in class, and because the parents had to go, and or if she was, when she was younger, she was not very happy about going herself. I found out a lot of really neat stuff that I had no idea. No idea when we say the Lord's Prayer. You know, why do we say, and those who trespass against us? You know, well, what did trespass mean? The kids didn't know. They didn't understand that. So, you know, it was neat, some of the stuff, that I learned, that she learned, and he loved it. If you know Pastor Bob, he absolutely loved to be challenged. He loved to answer questions. He loved to teach. And that was so awesome. So awesome. And the other part of that was that my son, on the other hand, did not want to be taught, didn't even want to be there, didn't care. And he, how do you say it, he, you know, where we were listening to tapes and had to say something, he worked with Jake on Jake's level, on how could he get Jake confirmed, or want Jake to be confirmed, allow him to be confirmed, with just the knowledge that Jake had. Was it good enough? Was it just, how do I say, it wasn't, you know, he read every 50 chapters that were required, or something like that. It was, what did Jake get out of it? Did he get out of it what I wanted him to get out of it? And that was a huge thing. And they had awesome mentors. Mr. Jim was Jake's mentor, and you know how he struggled, you know, and it was not, it just was Jake. No, it was just Jake. And he's okay. You know, he's a great kid and everything's good. So it makes me really thankful, you know, very sad when Pastor Bob left. But he also helped through my divorce because he was actually a very good friend of my ex-husband's. And it was horrible. And he was there. And he was there when my dad died, and he was there. He was always there. And what I got out of that was that he brought Christ with him. It was almost like a presence that I can't even tell you. You talked about the breeze or the wind, and there was a presence and I felt that because I felt of his knowledge and the way he was and how good he was to us and to this church in general, that it really showed me what God is. And I don't mean to put him up on like a pedestal. Yeah, Mark.
I got a question for you.
Yep.
It surprises me what you're saying about Pastor Timmerman.
Okay.
He was I didn't realize that about kids so much,
Mhm.
because I didn't have any going here. But the turmoil that you mentioned is when the churches were
Fighting.
trying to decide. Fox didn't care about Missouri Synod or the state, cared about Cross.
Yeah.
And Pastor Timmerman grew up in the Concordia school, and they were very into the Missouri Synod. But then when the Missouri Synod started to go what they thought was to the left or right, then they decided, hey, we got to do something here. So Pastor Timmerman spent a lot of time on that, and finally we got involved. And then finally we decided that we would go with Pastor Timmerman on that. And that's how we got into that.
Okay.
And he was probably more into the grown-ups and the congregation at that time, which was very
necessary. Right.
So
right.
Sometime I'd like to talk more about that, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that
Right.
he was a very good kid.
And I have no hard feelings with Pastor Tim. I mean, honestly, it was really a long time ago.
Yeah.
He had a lot of personal problems that he dealt with, and he had some other things going on. Like I said, it was just a time in my life that we, you know, we noticed, we all knew that something was not right, and our parents knew it, and it just turned out to be that it affected us in some way, shape, or form. To nobody's fault, right? To nobody's fault. So after my kids started growing up and stuff, I ended up moving. Oh, well, I have to go back, actually, they talk about work and how this became. And I'm sure, I work at 3M. I've been there, if I count all the years I've been there 35 years.
Wow.
I started in high school as a junior on the OJT program, the summer of my senior year. I actually worked for the school district, North St. Paul 622, the first year in my junior year, helping out the superintendent as kind of a gopher, doing miscellaneous things, filing lunch stuff for kids that couldn't afford lunches and stuff like that. And then we had a program at North St. Paul that was called OEA, Office Education Association. You heard of it?
I was OJT at 3M as well.
You were?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome! Wow, okay, that's great, yeah. Which, of course, doesn't exist anymore. They don't have anything like that. You almost have to have a 4-year degree, but I don't know why. And then I started in high school, and it was awesome for me because I did not like school, and I didn't want to be there. So when I got hired, I seriously, I can see family members were so excited. I mean, oh my gosh, you've got a job forever. You are set. You will never have to worry about life again.
They were right.
Well, they were at that time. Yes, at that time. Not now. But and so, you know, one of the things I talked to Amy about, and I found this interesting, is because she had no idea, is that there were a lot of 3Mers that went to this church. Mm-hmm. And Harry Lindroth is still alive, bless his heart. Mm-hmm. And we had Ed Bergeron, we had Daryl Anderson is still with us. And I would get teased when I came in. The stock market wasn't doing well, and the 3M stock wasn't up where they wanted it to, and Harry'd come up to, what are you doing? What's going on out there? Like, I control anything. And, you know, and it was quite interesting. It made me feel really, really good, because I thought, wow, really? Do I have any input in this? Oh my God. But I mean, for people that I really thought of as elders, that, geez, why would they talk to a young person, you know, or whatever? They did it, and I really appreciated that. I really did. Like I said, Daryl was still working, so it wasn't so much him, but the ones retired were quite, like to always give me a little something if they, like I said, especially if it wasn't good. Which right now is, I don't know if it's a time to buy or sell, I don't know. But, so I've been there, I worked there, I've worked there, the only time I took off is when I had my children. And then in '96, I got the tap on the shoulder to come into a conference room and was told we were a Mason. And I no longer worked for 3M, and I had no clue what that meant. I thought I was going to pass out. It was insane. So we moved to a Mason, and we still thought we were 3M. And that was probably the demise of a Mason, because we were not 3M, and there was no golden pot to pull out of anymore. And we made it a year working there. Everybody pretty much quit. In a sense, quit working mentally. Everybody just gave up. It was so bad. I mean, they had us where we were buying, we couldn't buy mechanical pencils. We had to have just regular pencils because they were cheaper. We couldn't buy 3M Post-it notes. We had to buy Highland Post-it notes because they were cheaper. It went crazy. You couldn't do anything. We wore jeans to work. Nobody cared. You came when you felt like it. Did your time, left when you felt like it. It was awful. I couldn't wait.
What kind of work were you doing there?
I worked for directors. I still do. At that time, it was a marketing director that I worked for. And it was in the printing and publishing systems division, which was really hard to tell your family what the heck your division was at 3M, because it really didn't make any sense to me until I finally went to a printing shop, which Rich Nielsen is one of our members here, works at, like the Bureau or something, and we made printing plates for your Sunday paper or for your magazines, huge magazine. Hearst magazines bought lots of stuff from us. color keys. If you ever open up your comic strip and you see the yellow, magenta, cyan, and black, that's a color key. Makes all the colors. That's the only colors you need to make color. Things like that. And it was a dying market. Everything was digital. Everything, they weren't printing anymore, as you know. I mean, you just don't see that much in print anymore. Still exists, but it's pretty much. They ended up selling after 3.5 years. I applied back to 3M. It was not a good time. It was 2000, and they weren't hiring. And I just kept applying, calling friends, people I knew. How do I get out of here? How do I get back? What do I do? And I had a few people made some phone calls. I got a name. I called this gal, and she's like, "Wow, I think I can get you an interview, but it'll be just totally a informational interview. It's not going to be a we're going to hire you interview, but we'll see what you can do." And they brought me in, and I interviewed for 5 hours. I never in my life had so much. I had 5 people, and it was 5 hours. I couldn't even, my face hurt so bad, and I could smile and laugh and talk forever, but this one almost did me in. And when I left, it was thank you, good luck, you know, we don't know, we're not hiring, but we really appreciate you coming in. And I went back to my desk, and I remember I cried, because I thought, oh, come on. And she said, oh, I'll let you know. And I didn't hear anything. And I thought, there you go. Yeah, I'll let you know. Sure you will. Okay, so I waited, and I called her back, and I left a voicemail, and I said, you know, I'm just calling. Is there any chance? Did you hear anything? And then I got the phone call, and she said, I am so sorry. I went on vacation, and I didn't even think about it, that I had to get you a message to you. And she said, I want you to know that the head director took your resume, walked up into the ivory tower, as we call it at 3M, 14th floor, and went to the EVP, the guy right under, you know, the CO, and said, we want her. And he signed a rec. And I got back into 3M. Yay! Yeah, it was God's gift, I swear. It was great because I was a Mason, although I didn't get my time back. I lost 3.5 years. That's why when I say 35 years, now I only have 32 right now. But I did get, I started my medical immediately. My vacation went right back to where it was. Wow. And everything. So I still had 3 weeks vacation, and I had pay, everything was the same. I didn't lose anything. So I was very, very, very happy. And that, again, has been a godsend, because it's come to where if I hadn't had that job, I don't know. I have a daughter, my daughter's a type 1 diabetic and has, you know, as everybody knows from the news, the insulin is insane, and not that she's ever had a crisis, she's been very, very lucky, and now with Facebook and connections with groups, you know, she's had a lot of help with, she's on a pump that the insurance doesn't like to cover, and and she's not had jobs or not had insurance, and then she turned 26 and no longer is on my insurance, but she's, you know, it has been a godsend. It seriously has. Now, 3M is a little different. It's not your father's 3M, we always say. We're right now in the midst, they just laid off, 1,500 people or 1,200 people lost their jobs, but most of it was through attrition. They retired and or they got a year on their time or a year in their age, or both, and then were old enough to go. So they did fairly well, and they did a lot of international. They got rid of international. But now we've been told there's 1,500 more going, and this time it'll just be a tap on the shoulder, and there's going to be no, here's a year, here's nothing. So you sit there and you don't know. You don't know, because when you used to think, oh, I mean, I remember thinking 25 years, you can sit and trim your nails and, have coffee all day you want, 'cause that kind of was that way. It was the good old boys club, and it was, they really were, that's what it was. I mean, and people had your back. People don't have your back no more. That doesn't exist. If people think it does, you still have people close to you, but they will not go to bat for you 90% of the time. You're not going to get that, because it could be them then that ends up losing their job, and they need their job as much as I need my job. So it's been icky. It hasn't been fun. I'm counting. I've actually got to count. I didn't think I would, but I do. I never thought I'd be that old. I seriously never thought I'd be that old. And I thank my mom, because the first day I started at 3M, I actually got stuck in the international mail room.
That's where
Now,
I was.
Were you?
Yep.
That must have been what they did to all of us. I don't know. It was, and I came home and I remember I'm looking at these names from Asia and stuff, and I have no clue.
You didn't put the Lebanon mail with the whatever
Yeah,
country
and
mail.
oh, it was insane. And I came home and I told her, I'm quitting. I'm done. I am not. Oh no, she says, you're going back. No, I'm not. I said, you have no idea how awful this is. Thank goodness I went back, because I think actually the next day they moved me out of there, and I never have to do that again. So, and one of the things that I think that I have as an inherited personality or whatever, and actually I will tell you, my divorce lawyer asked me, the first question she asked me is, was I an RN? Are you a registered nurse? And I said, excuse me? She goes, are you a registered nurse? And I said, no, I told you I work at 3M. I said, I'm an admin. She goes, oh, okay. She goes, because most registered nurses are caregivers, and they're married to alcoholics or to dependent people. I went, oh, now it's starting to sink in. So the caregiver piece of me really shone through. I had no idea that that's what I did. More worry about everybody else instead of myself. And that changed. I figured it out, I think, for the most part. Got a great guy now, and he's my caregiver. I let him do that. So that's some of the things. I don't know how much more you want me to talk about. I mean, I'm very, very happy. Oh, sure.
I'd like to know actually what you do for your job.
For my job, okay. This job that I have, I work for the engineering director that, she has two divisions at 3M, that one of them is HCBG. Everything is an acronym at 3M, so I will never use acronyms when I retire, I swear. I'm going to say everything out loud. HCBG, which is Healthcare Business Group. They make all the medical health stuff.
Math.
Well, actually, yeah. It really, it's ironic with 3M. Masks encompass almost the whole company, because they're part of the consumer part, which is what I used to work with, which was the filters and the command hooks, and I worked with them for 17 years, and that was interesting. Much easier to talk about that than printing plates, to your family, and they understood, because Christmas was always fun. Got lots of goodies, Oh, you need more tape, Mom? Sure, I have tons of tape. Actually, I was going to talk to Carol about the sticky tape that we have on the envelope today for flowers. That my thing fell off twice. But it is. Oh, that might be. It might be the cheapy one, but that's okay. We will do that. And then she also supports SIBG, which is Safety Industrial Business Group, which is, I gotta think of it here, IATD, which is, I know, IATD, which is the industrial tapes and stuff, but they also, there's so many pieces of, but PSD, which is Personal Safety Division, is the masks That's what the government, I will tell you, I know this for a fact, because I was sitting right there, called 3M and said, you will put another line in your plant to make more. And we're going, huh? We can't do that. We don't just, well, and you know what they said to us? China built 2 hospitals in 5 days or 10 days.
Yeah.
You can put in a plant. You can put this in your plant. They did. They seriously did. I mean, I've never seen people scramble. And I've been through some crisis. What did we have? Does anybody remember in the 90s when, I don't know if it was a VP or somebody told us to duct tape the windows so that the air didn't come in? It would put film on your windows and duct tape them and wear masks and stuff. And I can't remember, but it was a crisis at 3M. Duct tape wiped out, gone.
Well, there was SARS and then there was MRS.
Yeah, it was,
Different.
I don't know, maybe it was SARS.
I was just gonna say,
that
there
was
was
more recent.
a flu virus that people got on airplanes.
Swine flu.
Swine flu? Maybe it was,
No,
no?
Well, there was H1N1, but that,
it wasn't Legionnaire's disease.
No, no.
there were a few.
No, they were spread by.
Yeah, and they had, they don't want air coming, it was
Right.
crazy. And I will say too, that's another thing that happened with these masks, is that we had, these VPs they get held accountable for how much inventory they have, how much they, sell, blah, blah, blah. And of course, every single month, this poor VP was getting beat up because he had warehouses full of these masks, okay? He had warehouses full. Now he's getting beat up because he has nothing. And it's a vicious cycle. You never can tell consumer stuff like that, what happens. Or what's going to happen. So, engineering piece. So what the piece of that is that when, right now, which most of you probably are very well aware of, Maplewood, the headquarters, is old. It was built, in the 60s and some of the 70s, and our buildings are showing it. And if you ever drive by, there's cranes up, and they're building a new building. They actually have plans to tear down the majority of the 3M labs and rebuild them because they are falling apart, and they're not OSHA, they don't have the OSHA regulations, they don't pass, and it costs more money to bring it up to an OSHA than it does to tear it down. So we have our engineering group, we control the capital, we have the money, and they come to us and say, we need so much to do a roof, we need so much to do this, we need so much to do that, how much can you give us? And then they plan, and of course, and then they don't plan for this, or they don't plan for that, and then what we do is we do approval for they're called AFEs, approval for expenditures. So, one of the fun things about my job is I get to review all of these, and then I make sure they've got all the P's and Q's on there, everything is correctly spelled, there's no excess. Some people, when they write, they don't just get to the point, they, just condense it, whatever, dollar amounts are right, everybody that has to sign it off is right, and, so I get to see what's going on, and I get to see how much it costs. And like the new ramp that they just put up on one of the buildings was $46 million. $46 million.
That's
a lot of postage.
Yeah, that's a lot of postage, and the problem with postage, so here's a little piece of invite with this, hopefully this doesn't go any further than that, but no, is I worked in the Post-it Note division after being in CHIM, which was the Construction and Home Improvement, group, which was, like that, filters, command, blue tape, and, your home use abrasives. So any of your sponges and stuff you would sand the wall with or something like that, that was us. Then I went into stationary products, which is SPSD, and they did Post-it notes, and that was the most ironic job I've ever had, because how many times can you reinvent a Post-it note? When they invented it, it was the greatest thing on earth. They've double stickied it, they've made it look like a heart, they've made it different colors, they've made it big, they've made it small, they've made it wide, long, made it on sheets.
Yeah.
We had something here, I saw it. Yeah, sheets, they've made it every way that you can think of. How do you sustain a business? Especially when you're charging what you're charging. And now there's competitors, I don't think, I'm not sure about the trademark on it yet, or the patent, yeah.
The lady that came to work for me at Farm Credit, her husband invented the post.
He did, oh, yes, Mr. Fry. Mr. Fry, I have I have a Post-it note dispenser on my desk with his signature. Because, yeah, he comes in, he still does.
Yeah.
He still comes in every once in a blue moon, and he kind of walks around, and he's probably going, what are these people doing? But, so that, how they sustain that, now they've come out with, and I don't know if anybody has seen it yet, a new bubble wrap that is sticky, so you don't have to use a box to mail things. You can put your package in bubble wrap, and you just press it down, and it seals it to the size of your package. So you don't have to buy big boxes and stuff them with, little egg thingies or paper or anything like that. And it's new. It's blue. It's blue right now. I don't know.
Is it recyclable?
It is. Ironically, I don't know how, but they claim it is. That's their claim to fame, is that it's recyclable. And so we'll see.
So you can just write your label,
Yep,
right?
you could, yep, it has pre-printed space for you to write your label on there, put your address, whatever you want, and you can trim it down, and you cut it to size too, it's on a roll. So if you only need this big, you just cut on the size, and then you have that much left. And if you're a person that, mails a
Does it
lot.
have air in it? Or what?
Yep, they're air bubbles. Yeah, just like a standard, regular.
And they're not manufactured in China?
That I can't answer. I don't know that one. Actually, we did have a director that sat in his office
I
popping
heard
them.
with the coronavirus, the
Yeah.
people are worried about their
Yeah.
bubble wrap
Yeah.
releasing the air.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, actually, we did. We were just teasing one of the directors that did that. He was in his office popping it, and we're like, I don't know if I do that.
I heard Emily say there's something about 3M that nobody's ever more than how many feet from a 3M product? Do you-
Oh, gosh, yeah, I have heard that. Boy.
3 feet or something.
Probably.
There's
There's always
a 3M
something.
product near you.
One of the
That
coolest,
makes so many
yeah,
things.
one of the coolest things and I don't know if we do it anymore or not, but I remember I found out that 3M made the turkey poppers that pop out of your turkey.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Who talks about that? Nobody, and, yeah.
So
It's
what
a
do you
turkey
think
trap
that-
popper business group.
PPBG. Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
So does 3M have, in your view of things on the inside, do they have any more vision towards being environmentally friendly, or are they looking at that, or are they just trying to meet the standards that the government?
No, they are going forward, they are trying, they really are.
Okay.
We have, we used to take our paintbrushes in the division, when I was in gym, construction home improvement, we would, oh my gosh, all I did on my purchasing card was buy paint. Sherwin-Williams, PPG, Valspar, we had people running to stores all the time, trying different paints. Behr, Marie Anderson, I think one time her and I were talking about Behr, and I said, I despise Behr paint. It's sticky and it's thick and I didn't like it. And I said, you know what, 3M command hooks don't stick to it well. And I didn't like that. Now, I think the formulas have changed. I think we've improved the command hooks. They're always being improved. But we literally have sheets of them. They have what do they call them? I don't want to say hyperbaric chamber, that's not it, but like a rain chamber that they put them on, they paint them with Behr paint that's on a piece of wood that you would buy at Menards. Stick it in this rain chamber and they let it rain. And it rains and rains and rains, and they have dates on it and times and what the humidity is and everything else. We stick them outside on the windows at 3M. We have a test facility down in, I think it's Florida, that we have panels that are insane. out for the sun exposure and the heat and the humidity, and they have them down in Arizona. They do different stuff, so they're always checking them.
Send them up north to check them in the.
But freezing, right? Yeah, they should, and I'm sure they probably do, I just don't know it. But, yeah, they have their, so we used to, you know, paint these boards. We had people that did that, painted the boards and stuff like that. We'd take the, paintbrushes, stand under the water, rinse them out, right? Down the drain it goes, and you don't have to think about it. Oh, no more, no more. We have a whole system that goes, and if you're gonna reuse a paintbrush, which we do, yeah, nothing goes down the drain. Nothing. Yeah. Yeah.
I can relate to what you say about the old, time,
Mhm.
people at the 3M.
Mhm.
My wife worked for 4 engineers over there.
Mhm.
Not that I was going on vocational to be a machinist, they would support her
Yes.
100%, always trying to give me information to keep improving myself.
Mhm.
And even thought maybe they might, if I wanted a job there,
Mhm.
maybe I could get a job there.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to do that, but I didn't want to put her on any, but,
Yeah.
they were very supportive,
Very much.
always.
Yeah.
For her boss, especially, he just supported whatever I would do, and he always asked me, well, what I was doing and how I was doing it.
Mhm.
They were good, they were good.
That was, like I said, that was the old 3M. It was, we had, you know, like you said, people would support you. You used to be able to say, oh, my Uncle Jim works there, and you had a job. Now? Probably don't even want to say you have somebody that works there. Seriously.
And they were all Minnesota people too.
They were, yeah.
They
Oh,
started up, it's one of the best
if you ever pull up
Yep,
the hierarchy of 3M,
Yeah.
you will notice there are names that you can't even pronounce. It's not, and I apologize to anybody, and I'm not trying to be, you know, discriminatory or anything, but where it used to be, you know, Fred Anderson, Jim Johnson, Ted Brown, you know, stuff like this. Now it's Moj DePole, and it's, you know, Asari Sonata, and it's, you know, and you don't have that anymore. And most of it, very, very heavy in women. We're really pushing the upper crust to become very woman-oriented, which is good. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But like you said, you used to be able. I had a friend that lived in my neighborhood that her father ended up having a heart attack and died at 3M. He was a 3Mer. He was 51 years old, and they were young and in school. And what they did for that family was insane. You know, that they gave it. You know, he had his insurance money. They took up huge. You know, had benefits for them. They had, people gave money. They helped the kids get in through school. They got them into colleges. They did amazing things I've never even heard of. And when the tape plant blew up in, what year was it? Geez, way before my time. The people that passed, I mean, it was a family.
Yeah.
And that's what I really liked when I started working at 3M. And even up until, I'll tell you, the last 2 bosses that I had that I still felt like family, it went through 2006. And after that, it's never been the same. And it's disheartening, kind of. It makes it hard to get up to go to work.
When I graduated from high school, they offered me a full-time job, because
Uh-huh.
I worked in the international division, and I ended up in telecommunications.
Oh, okay.
Because the person was quitting and they had no one. So
Yeah.
they trained me.
Yeah, well, that's, yeah.
They'd come to my school and pick me up and bring me to work if I didn't have a
Would
ride.
they? Oh,
But-
wow.
But when I left, they offered me the full-time job as an international receptionist, and they built me an office and showed me my desk, and I said, I can't, I'm pregnant.
Oh, okay.
I can't come to work here, but they were just accommodating.
Yeah. No more.
It was a great place to
No
work.
more. Yeah. Lori,
What's the best part of your day when you go to work?
going
5
home.
o'clock.
Wow.
Just a long
Not even lunch, no. No, I wouldn't say lunch.
5 o'clock when you leave.
That's what I said, yeah, going home, seriously. You know, I will say this job, I've gotten very lucky that I have two ladies, which can be, having worked there for so long, sometimes working for women is hard. It really is. There's an expectation. They have way higher, you know, standards, not standards, that's not really the word, but they have expectations that sometimes are just ridiculous. It's like, think about this. Are we, you know, do you want the job done, or do you want to make yourself a name, and that you're gonna, and it's not gonna be a good name? Because people like me are going to move, and I'm gonna have a friend that works over here, and I'm gonna say, hoo, you don't wanna work for this one.
Right.
And it gets around. I mean, it's a different, I can honestly say I'm one of the old ones now. I never thought that. I mean, I was always the kid. I don't get called that anymore. And I'm kind of sad, because I still feel like it up here. But, yeah, so it does get around. But, you know, like you said, Marv, that connection isn't there anymore. Everybody goes home. Nobody, my girlfriends that I work with, there's two of them, and we have been just rock solid. I'm amazed that, because usually there's trouble. Well, we actually did have one lady that actually got fired. We actually had her fired. I mean, I can honestly say I was part of that, because it was obnoxious, not coming to work, or I didn't even say that, leaving during the day, and nobody knew where she was, and she was supposed to be a superior to us. And it was like, well, that's kind of a oxymoron here. You're superior and you're leading. And we're doing all the work, and things weren't getting done. And it was her own doing. It wasn't really our doing. But it started because I just happened to say something, because I can't be quiet. So, and it gets me in more trouble than it doesn't, believe me. I always say with my family, I said we have the, you know, I'm the mouse. My younger brother than me, Al, that comes to church here, is completely the opposite. Never says anything. Very, very quiet, and doesn't have opinions. And then we have my brother Dan. And Dan, to me, is he's black. I'm black. My other brother's white, and he's like right in the middle. And he won't. You don't know if he's voting Republican or Democrat. You know, where we're going, we're this way or that way, and not him. You wouldn't know. He's just easy, even keel, nice going, easy guy. But he's got a job like that too, so he kind of has to be. But I always thought of that. You know, he was the one that, by the way, never got in trouble.
What is his job?
He is a social worker for Washington County. He's actually it's not even a worker. I mean, he's a supervisor now. Yeah, in Washington County. So he deals with all different kinds of people and does very well at it. So I guess that's me. I don't.
It was interesting I'm having my hip replaced on Friday. And they said that I will get a Band-Aid that goes across the wound and has antibacteria on the side, and I will leave it there for 2 weeks. Do you think 3M would make it?
They do.
Is that? Okay.
Yeah,
they do. Yeah,
I mean,
almost everything. That's the healthcare business piece of it. Yeah. Yeah, huge. Yeah, Tegaderm is huge. We have, the sealed bandages, which have the antibiotic stuff on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we make that.
Interesting.
Make a lot of
They still
things.
make games.
Games?
Yeah,
Oh,
really high.
3M bookcase games.
Yeah.
I've got two.
Yeah, do you?
Oh,
Yeah.
I've never
They
heard of
made
that.
those in the international.
There's a new division for you.
I was just gonna say, maybe, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I worked with the people that actually bought up the games.
Really? Oh my gosh, I don't even know how you do that. Yeah. No, I don't, that's a healthcare business. Actually, we just sold, I don't know if you've seen in the paper, we sold 2 divisions, which that's what, right now, I don't mean to say this in a bad way, but, if you see stock, it's gone way, way, way down. What I understand right now is we're not, even though that's in our name, we're not innovating, we're not coming up with anything new, we're buying. We buy companies. And that's what's happening with our ear. the, Army and the issues, the earplugs where they're suing us, 3M didn't even own, we own that business, we bought it. And we bought it after everything had happened. And we didn't know, they didn't know, they got caught. And so it's not a 3M made product, don't think that. They might use chemical or they might use, you know, something that 3M made, but 3M didn't make that product or test it or anything else. And then they bought the company and now they're in deep hot water.
Little sponges?
No, not the sponges. They're Army issues. They've got like
Yeah.
ridges on them.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah, they're Army issues. Oh,
They bought the liability.
yeah, yes, they did. They did, unfortunately
Do
for
their
them.
due diligence.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, you know, that's one of them, and that's what I think they're trying, they built that brand new building on McKnight, and that is a complete lab. I mean, the whole outside that you see, it through the windows is just the office workers, and it's literally from here to here is all that they've got. The rest of that lab on the inside is all lab with machines and extension cords coming everything's built in. For them to be in there to make something. Because that's what they're pushing for, because we've kind of lost that of doing that, and I think that's one of the issues they're having right now, is that they're trying to get back to being what they were, a manufacturing company, where now we're just buying stuff and or selling it. We sold DDSD, and that is the, like, inhalers for asthma. They used to make the contraption.
Yeah.
That they got rid of that, because I didn't realize that it's kind of a very fluid market. It kind of goes up and down and up and down. They never really know, so they got rid of that, and then they got rid of the body armor, for the military, the piercing, or even the police and stuff like that. You know, I don't know if it was actually the Kevlar piece of it, but they did helmets, they did everything. I mean, like I said, you have no idea what 3M does, it's crazy. But they sold that, and I'm sure that was a liability thing. They went, you know what, we've been stung one too many times, I think we're gonna take a break. So,
It's interesting to me that you say this, that they're not innovative, because our neighbor, who passed away now, he was a machinist at 3M.
Yeah.
And his particular job was to, an engineer would come down with a prototype, and he'd make it, and then they would make changes to it, and that was, I don't know what division or what area, but when he retired, they were shutting that down, and they sold him, or gave him, I don't know what, a lot of the machines, and he had them in his basement.
Oh, wow.
And
Cool.
his son-in-law invented the breathe right strip. And
He did, okay.
On those machines, they made the, with Feathers machines, they made the machines that package them.
Oh, yeah.
Across the street from me in their basement, they made these
Right.
packaging, and which has now been sold to Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah, right.
But, so that's just, I don't know if that was around that time that they did, I think there was probably thought that, oh, we're gonna buy companies instead of.
I think that was the way, you know, as everybody knows, and it didn't start with 3M buying and selling.
Right.
You know, it's been other
That's what most
companies.
companies did back in those days, because when I worked for Ecolab, after that, they did the same thing.
Yeah.
They made chemical cleaning products for all the restaurants and whatever,
Yep.
and then they started buying companies, and some of them were good, some of them were really bad.
Yeah.
And it's,
Yeah, and I think,
that's
you know,
just
like,
what they wanted to do those days.
it was easier, because you didn't have, you just kinda took everything and did it, yeah.
What do you attribute, like 1,500 jobs lost? Is it automation, or what's?
Downsizing, pension, getting overhead, cash.
I think part of their problem is, they're getting rid of things that they get out of competition on now. You know, they get the product out.
Right.
Tapes done, you can buy 100 tapes, you can buy.
Oh, yeah, we're huge
They're
into
getting rid of
that.
that stuff, because their products are always high.
They were.
They were high.
Oh, I think I heard one time that if 3M didn't make a 50% markup, a product wasn't pulling in 50%, they got rid of it.
Yeah.
It had to be that much.
So how do you live with that going into work every day?
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's, like I said, it's not your father's 3M anymore. I loved 3M. I loved it. I was so excited, I got I finally got an underground parking spot. Only took 32 years, and I got it. I was so excited. Now you got to pay for it, don't kid yourself. They don't give it to you for nothing. But but when I was young, the elderly I call them, right, would give you their spot if they were on vacation or something. Oh, man, that was like Christmas. It was so awesome. So it was, now I pay for it though, so I don't know if I like it as much. But boy, when it snows, one day, it pays for itself all year long. I love it. I love it. So.
I wonder how many know where the 3M stand for.
Now
that it became 3M. What was the original? How many think they know the 3M? Okay, quite a few. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, now, since you started, what are they?
Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing.
Yes, Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing.
Yes, and that is not our legal name anymore.
I suppose
No,
not.
it is not.
3M now.
It is 3M only, not 3M Company, not 3M Inc., nothing. It's 3M.
And that was started off Payne Avenue, right?
Actually up in Tower,
First.
Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. It was the first manufactured sandpaper.
Okay.
First thing. But then St. Paul, that whole 7th Street down there was ours.
When did they stop mining?
Oh, boy, that I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, but we still have them. We still have silos, and we still, huge part of the division I'm in, the group is, the roofing granules.
Oh, sure.
Cute. Yes.
If you go up Highway 61 to Tofting, Minnesota, there's a Carlton Peak. Carlton Peak is a huge area owned by 3M, where they got all their sandpaper.
Okay, and I've never known that. Yeah, well, we own a huge chunk of land up in Park Rapids, too. It's called Wanawak.
Yeah.
And it is on a lake, a private lake that 3M owns. And it has amazing cabins and stuff, and I've never been there.
Oh, why haven't we done
I know. Yeah, unfortunately, the cost of it is a little much. Yeah, a little much.
So
But
where does your CEO live now? He don't helicopter in.
oh, no, they didn't, no, that would, okay, so this is, when you talked about the Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing, Jim McNerney was the first 3M, outside of 3M CEO that they hired. That was the beginning of the end. He brought in Six Sigma, which is
I've worked under that.
yeah, it's great for manufacturing, it's checks and balances. 3M has a bazillion different programs we use to keep track of things, none of them talk to each other. So we're always in trouble with something. Somebody didn't know how much that cost, it isn't in the budget, it's not on the balance sheet, it's just a mess. So they tried, the Six Sigma, which is great, it does work for manufacturing, it gives them a great checks and balance there. But McNerney spent, I think it was $1 billion to change 3M's name to 3M. Because think of the things we had to change.
Yeah.
On every single thing. No more M&M. I mean, it's still M&M on the stock market, I think.
Yes.
Is it? Okay, I think it still is. I didn't think it had just gone to 3M or anything, but every single thing, everything. Stationery, letterhead, packaging, everything.
Advertising.
Advertisement, stock, all your paper stock. I mean, everything had to be changed. So, but he did that, which was, it's okay. I mean, that, to me, I don't think nothing of it. I mean, it's a lot of money, but, hey, what the heck? What the heck? You got nothing else to do.
Could have paid you it.
Pardon me?
They could have paid you.
Yeah, they could have. I thought of that many nights. Believe me, I would have liked that.
My nephew invented a sanding system. It's a foam thing that has the sandpaper. He did a lot of out-of-body work. And
Okay,
he
yep.
invented this flexible sander, and 3M offered him $1 million to buy it from him, but he never sold it to him.
Oh, he did?
Nope, kept it for himself.
Wow, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, 3M does a lot of things too, my ex-brother-in-law, my ex and my ex-brother-in-law, their family was really auto body people. And he would come in once a month from Hepner's Auto Body, and they would have him spray. He was a painter. They'd have him spray cars, and then they would use certain stuff on them and ask him what he thought. And I thought, wow, somebody finally got smart and asked the workers, what do you think of this? Yeah, you know, so they do stuff like that. You know, it's nice, and they do have people who do invent. Oh, we get letters that I invented this, and you want to buy this from me, and well, probably not, but you know, they do send them, and we have to answer every single letter that comes in. So every group has a person that takes any kind of letters we get, or we hate your product, it ruined our lives, you know, we get those too, and they, you know, they all go upstairs. Not that the CEO reads them, but he's aware of them. If there's something major that happened, we've had, you know, our sanding paper do something to somebody's floors, they claim, well, or is it the machine? You know, it's probably not 3M sanding paper, it was somebody that didn't know how to run the machine or something. But they're aware of it, they know, so don't ever think when my grandma Stack was classic for writing to the CEO of any company that didn't. Mr. Coffee was her favorite. But these coffee pots only lasted 3 months. Well, they're on 24/7. You know what they're made for. But she'd get a new coffee pot, you know. So, you know, different things like that. Anybody else have anything else? I probably way talk. Oh gosh, I was way talk.
How do you feel that your faith here and being on Pastor Bob and so forth, how do you think that made an impact on your daily life?
How did it make an impact? Well, I thought about things a lot more. I really did. I used to wish unwellness to people. I did. I wasn't, you know, I had the perfect. Yeah, well, no, and I thought of that today as I was sitting there after communion, and I thought, you know what? I have said this same prayer since I can't even remember. And how do it's something made up. I didn't, it's not a prayer I opened up and said, oh, remember this, and things, and I thought, you know, that really had an impact on me when I got older, and my kids weren't perfect, and my life wasn't perfect, because I thought it was at one time. Now it is. But, you know,
That'll change.
It ain't been a year yet. But, yeah, and really the struggles that people go through, Bob really...
Oh, we're gonna make you cry a bit.
I know you are. With him, you know what, I know you guys all know this, he never gave you an answer.
No.
He never gave it to you. He made you
Like
answer.
a psychiatrist.
Yeah, he was. He was. He would, you know, and that was something that made me think. And I never had that before. I never had to think. I thought what I was doing was perfect and wonderful and right. Didn't I, Mom?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I did. And I never had to think. And that part of my faith has made me think. Now I will tell you, and my mom, I don't know if my mom even knows this, but my daughter, who is, you know, believes in having her children, and when our children were baptized, it was more of a, you will baptize your child, right? And we knew we had to, we weren't going to not. But the great-grandmas and everybody, they were, whoa, you're going to do this. My daughter's kind of like on my terms. You know, it's that, not a millennial generation, she's a little bit older, but it's in their realm of thinking.
Everything is questioned.
Yeah, and I will say something about my grandchildren, don't go to church and don't go to Sunday school. Now, I'm not perfect, I'm not saying I am, and I'm far from it. But, you know, I've said, it bothers me, like with them, we'll say a prayer. My husband and I with them for dinner, and they don't know what you're doing. Oh my gosh.
They don't even eat at the table most of the time.
Well, most of the time, yeah, they're sitting at the counter, and it's on and off, and here's a piece, and there's a piece. And, you know, I said something to my daughter about, they don't know God. They don't know anything about Jesus or what that is. And she said, well, she says, I don't pray to God. I said, what? What do you mean you don't pray? She says, I don't. I talk to Grandpa, I talk to Great-Grandma, I talk to all of them up in heaven. And I ask them to watch over us and take care of us. And I'm thinking, really?
They don't make the connection of why they're in heaven?
Right. You know what? They don't. They don't. They made it. And that's good enough. You got that connection, talk, Grandpa, pass that on. Really? So I struggle with that because I'm not, I can talk, don't get me wrong, but I'm not well versed in the fight. I don't have a good fight. I don't have a good, what are you talking about? You don't have God to talk to. And she said it right out loud. I was surprised. It shocked me because I thought, wow, you've been through all this. You even had Bob. Come on.
I think Bob had an impact on my son, who brought his child here to be baptized.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have a church, and his wife hadn't even been baptized herself.
Right.
And so, although she was under the influence of her grandma, and her father wanted her to be baptized, her mother didn't. But Bob talked with them, and now, I don't try to, get too pressured, pressure them too much and whatever, but now their little boy is going to a Christian preschool. And nothing could make me more happy.
Yeah.
Because I know I was there when Bob talked to him.
Okay.
And brought him back.
Right.
Because, I was his Sunday school teacher at that point.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
They drift.
Yeah.
Well, they do, and I think society's allowed that.
Yeah.
Just look at the congregation here. I was counting, I know it's spring break, but when when they first came here, they had chairs set up in the narthex.
Yeah.
Because so many people were here. Now, the neighborhood's totally different, and, it's just,
How many more churches are there in the neighborhood here than when you grew up?
How many more?
Yeah, there seem to be a lot of churches they could choose from.
Well, there's churches everywhere, especially Lutheran. We were just talking about that last night, how many Lutheran between Gustavus Adolphus, Our Redeemer, this Lutheran,
One over
Divinity.
St. Mark's, North St. Paul, and there's Wisconsin in it. Keith went to Christ Lutheran. Yeah, and I was actually surprised. Tim and I just talked about that this morning, how big Christ Lutheran is, and their Wisconsin Synod, and how they still are big. And that surprised me in North St. Paul. But
Look at the one down on Frost Avenue now, that's
Frost.
kind of a room or something. And one over on Atlantic.
yep, on Atlantic, yeah. Marv, you lived right there,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And we always played up there in that open field. And that church has been so many different churches, I can't even tell you, but that I remember anyway, so. Well, I don't want to keep you, I didn't even mean to do that.